This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. It's Wednesday, December 25th, 2024. Merry Christmas. I'm Clayton Neville in for John Trout. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
President-elect Donald Trump says he'll vigorously pursue capital punishment. I'm Haya Panjwani.
The man arraigned on charges. He set a woman on fire on a New York City subway. Julie Walker, New York.
Bill Clinton is out of the hospital after being treated for the flu. I'm Shelley Adler.
The Committee on Foreign Investment has failed to reach a consensus of a nearly $15 billion proposed acquisition of U.S. steel by Nippon Steel of Japan. Donna Warder, Washington.
Are you ready for some Christmas Day football? Netflix and the NFL certainly are, with both sides hoping for big business benefits. I'm Peter Schacknow.
More Starbucks baristas going on strike. All ahead on America in the Morning. President Trump is vowing to pursue executions for the dozens of federal death row inmates who received pardons from President Biden. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports.
President-elect Donald Trump says he'll vigorously pursue capital punishment. That's after President Joe Biden commuted the sentences of most people on federal death row, in part to stop Trump from pushing forward their executions. Trump criticized the decision to change the sentences of 37 of the 40 condemned people to life in prison without parole. Trump said that he'll direct the Department of Justice to pursue the death penalty as soon as he's inaugurated. Trump was vague on what specific actions he may take. I'm Haya Panjwani.
President Joe Biden has vetoed a once-bipartisan effort to add 66 federal district judgeships. The Democratic-controlled Senate passed the measure unanimously in August, but the Republican-led House brought it to the floor only after Republican Donald Trump was reelected to a second term back in November. The White House had said at the time that Biden would veto the bill. In a statement after issuing the veto, President Biden said the House of Representatives' hurried actions failed to resolve key questions in the legislation. Now, overturning Biden's veto would require a two-thirds majority in both the House and the Senate, and the House vote fell well short of that margin. The suspect in the killing of a woman who was set on fire on a New York City subway car has had his first court appearance in the case. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security says that 33-year-old Sebastian Zepeda is a Guatemalan citizen who had entered the country illegally, and eventually there will be a hearing to have him deported. This is President-elect Donald Trump's new border czar, Tom Homan, prepares for what Trump calls mass deportations. Homan spoke over the weekend at a Turning Point USA event.
Shame on any elected representative, any congressman, council person, any mayor, any governor who don't want to remove public safety threats from your community, and they're here illegally. That is your number one responsibility, is protect your communities. So if you're not going to do it, President Trump and ICE will.
NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch described the brutal murder on the New York subway.
One of the most depraved crimes one person could possibly commit against another human being.
Zepeda accused of approaching a random woman on the subway train. She's believed to have possibly been homeless. He then is said to have set her on fire with a lighter.
Officers who were on patrol on an upper level of that station smelled and saw smoke and went to investigate. What they saw was a person standing inside the train car, fully engulfed in flames. With the help of an MTA employee and a fire extinguisher, the flames were put out. Unfortunately, it was too late, and the victim was pronounced on the scene.
Zepeda reportedly lives at a homeless shelter in Brooklyn. He's officially charged now with 3 counts: first-degree murder, second-degree murder, and first-degree arson. He was in court yesterday, but will be back in court on Friday to officially enter a plea. Former President Bill Clinton has been discharged from the hospital after being admitted on Monday. Correspondent Shelley Adler has more.
Former President Bill Clinton has been discharged from a Washington hospital one day after being admitted with a fever. Clinton's deputy chief of staff says the 78-year-old is being treated for the flu, adding he and his family are deeply grateful for the exceptional care being provided by the team at MedStar Georgetown University Hospital. Clinton also sent his warmest wishes for a happy and healthy holiday season to all. Clinton was hospitalized on Monday afternoon for testing and observation. I'm Shelley Adler.
A new jail term for an American imprisoned overseas. We'll tell you who and how long when America in the Morning returns after this. We're waking up on this winter Christmas morning with an array of weather across the country. Of course, colder in some spots than others. Let's get a look at your forecast.
After there was a period of snow to start off Christmas Eve across much of the Northeast, it's going to be a pretty quiet Christmas day today. There will be a fair amount of sunshine, especially as you get closer to the I-95 corridor, closer to the coast, and that's where temperatures will top out mostly in the 30s this afternoon. It will be a little colder across the interior with temperatures in the 20s. Again, a little on the chilly side, but nothing unreasonably cold for this time of year. Now, as we head into the southeast, maybe a couple of showers across parts of central and south Florida, but they'll be pretty spotty today. The main area of precipitation across the country is going to be across the Ohio Valley and the mid and lower Mississippi valleys. That's where we're going to see the best chance for some rain today. Some rain around the Dayton area and back through Indianapolis and Louisville. We'll see some rain arriving this afternoon, and that rain extends back toward the St. Louis area, and you get into some steadier rain down toward Memphis and into Little Rock as well. And we'll see some showers and thunderstorms across Mississippi and Louisiana as well. Outside of some showers across eastern parts of Texas, pretty dry across the Plains states today. There will be some snow showers across the Rockies, Utah, parts of Colorado, and Wyoming. And out west, some rain in western parts of Washington. Mostly dry, though, across much of California, although it will be on the cooler side across Southern California as we head throughout this Christmas day. And that's the weather across America. In Detroit today, mainly cloudy but dry, a high of 37. Little morning snow in Salt Lake City today, otherwise mostly cloudy. We'll have a high around 42. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Brian Thompson.
Remember to follow us everywhere you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. President Biden will get to decide on an acquisition deal involving U.S. Steel after a panel failed to reach a consensus. Correspondent Donna Warder reports.
The Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States has failed to reach a consensus on the possible national security risks of a nearly $15 billion proposed acquisition of U.S. Steel by Nippon Steel of Japan. Monday was the deadline for the committee to either approve the deal, recommend that President Joe Biden block it, or extend the review process. The White House says Biden has 15 days to reach a final decision, but he has previously said that he opposes the deal, saying that it's vital for U.S. Steel to remain an American steel company that is domestically owned and operated. President-elect Donald Trump opposes it as well. Under the terms of the all-cash deal, U.S. Steel would keep its name and headquarters in Pittsburgh. It would become a subsidiary of Nippon Steel, and according to the World Steel Association, the combined company would be among the top 3 steel makers in the world. Donna Warder, Washington.
An American citizen imprisoned in Russia has received a new 15-year jail term. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma has more.
Domestic news agencies say a Russian-born U.S. citizen already imprisoned in Russia on a bribery conviction has been handed a second 15-year jail term for espionage. A Moscow court brought espionage charges against Gene Spector in August 2023, although details surrounding the case were not made public. Spector, formerly an executive at a medical equipment company in Russia, was previously sentenced to 3.5 years in prison in September 2022 for enabling bribes to an aide of a senior official. The aide was sentenced to 12 years in prison in April for taking bribes of 2 expensive overseas vacation trips. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
An expanding strike at one big-time American company. We'll tell you how big this thing's getting when America in the Morning returns after these messages. Here's CNBC's Peter Schacht with Wednesday Business.
Most businesses and the financial markets are closed for Christmas Day, but that doesn't mean there isn't plenty of business being conducted. For Netflix, it's $150 million worth. That's the amount it paid the National Football League to air 2 games today, with the Pittsburgh Steelers facing off against the Kansas City Chiefs in the first game and the Baltimore Ravens battling the Houston Texans in the second game. Brian Rolap is the National Football League's chief media and business officer.
Netflix specifically is important because to sort of build our sport internationally, we need to bring the best product to these markets. That's a combination of the live games we're playing there, but also we need to have media to reach there and reach there effectively. Each media market is different as you get into these international markets. Netflix helps us get into these markets effectively.
Following its debut as an NFL partner, Netflix has another event in the on-deck circle. Tomorrow will mark the long-awaited return of its hit series Squid Game, with Season 2 ready to drop. Wherever you're spending Christmas, here's hoping you got there without too much trouble. That wasn't necessarily the case Tuesday, after a technical issue forced American Airlines to halt all flights for about an hour. American quickly ramped up after that, but the brief shutdown did cause delays throughout the system. It's been a banner year for travel, as post-pandemic pent-up demand continues to be in evidence, and that will continue, according to Haley Berg of travel booking site Hopper.
About half of our Hopper users are planning to spend the same or more on travel in the next 6 months as they did in the previous.
The holiday season has also had a dark side this year, with the American Bankers Association ramping up warnings about check fraud.
Checks are increasingly susceptible to fraud, even though their usage has plummeted in recent years. The number of suspicious activity reports filed by banks with the Treasury Department related specifically to check fraud has skyrocketed in recent years. The number of instances has more than doubled in the aftermath of the pandemic.
That's CNBC's Leslie Picker telling us about the check fraud awareness campaign from the nation's banks. They say many thieves steal checks from mailboxes, then alter them for their own benefit. As the financial markets take a breather for Christmas today, the stock market is coming off a rally in Tuesday's abbreviated trading session, with the S&P 500 chalking up its biggest one-day gain since November 6th. The tech-heavy Nasdaq, meanwhile, saw its best performance in about 2 weeks. If you're one of those people who likes to spend Christmas Day at the movie theater, the Bob Dylan biopic A Complete Unknown debuts in select theaters today. It stars Timothée Chalamet as the music icon. Another movie likely to draw Christmas Day viewers, especially kids, is Sonic the Hedgehog 3, which topped the movie box office when it debuted this past weekend.
A barista strike at Starbucks is expanding. According to the company, 98% of its stores and nearly 200,000 employees continue to work as normal. But 5,000 workers at what organizers said was more than 300 stores in 45 states are striking in the midst of the busy holiday season. The Service Employees International Union and Starbucks Workers United are behind the strike. The goal is to highlight alleged unfair labor practices and stalled contract negotiations. The workers want a boost of more than 60% in Starbucks' minimum hourly wage. Execs at the company have called the union's demands unsustainable and pointed to benefit packages workers can get. In a statement, Starbucks said the union chose to walk away from bargaining last week and insisted the company's ready to continue negotiations when the union comes back to the table. Christmas Eve services at a cathedral that hasn't hosted them in years. We'll bring you those sounds when America in the Morning returns on this Christmas morning after this. Prosecutors in Brazil claim they found workers in slavery-like conditions at a Chinese car company site in their country. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer reports.
Officials released videos of the dorms where the construction workers were staying, which showed beds with no mattresses. At one site, there was only one toilet for every 31 workers, forcing them to wake up at 4 a.m. to line up and get ready to leave for work by 5:30 a.m. The workers had been hired in China by one of the contractors on site. Officials say the contractor confiscated the workers' passports and held 60% of their wages. Those who quit would be forced to pay for their airfare from China and for their return ticket. BYD is one of the world's largest producers of electric cars. The company says it will immediately terminate the contract with that contractor and is studying other appropriate measures. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
For the first time in 5 years, Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris held Christmas Eve services, with tourists flocking to the French landmark.
It's absolutely beautiful. Once-in-a-lifetime experience to just take part in this tonight was truly an experience. Very moving.
Having been closed to the public since a fire in 2019 nearly destroyed the building, the medieval cathedral reopened to the public earlier this month.
I was here 5 years ago, but I was here right after the fire, so I did not get to come inside. So to wait to come inside to be with these guys was really, really amazing.
Worshippers and other visitors marveling at the restoration of the recently reopened cathedral.
They did such an amazing job. It looks beautiful. I saw it once before many, many years ago, and so it's just really special to be back and just see all the hard work that's gone back into it. It was really nice. Blew us away. It's a really special night. It was really a nice thing to be a part of.
About 2,000 people were in attendance for an afternoon mass, one of 4 held on Tuesday. America in the Morning for Wednesday, December 25th, 2024 is produced by Alex Hinton, senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm Clayton Neville in for John Trout. Merry Christmas. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm Clayton Neville in for John Trout. Merry Christmas. Here's what's coming up this half hour.
President Biden signs 50 bills into law on Christmas Eve. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
A court appearance for the illegal immigrant accused of setting a woman on fire on a New York City subway train.
It was a tough start for American Airlines on the day before Christmas. I'm Shelley Adler.
67-year-old Fabio Ochoa was deported back to Colombia after serving 25 years of a 30-year prison sentence in the United States. I'm Donna Warder.
If you have to work overtime on the holidays, it might as well be in Honolulu. I'm Robert Workman.
All ahead on America in the Morning. On this Christmas morning, some Americans waking up to wintry weather. Certainly not everybody. In fact, not a whole lot of snow on this Christmas. Meteorologist Brian Thompson's here for us.
We may be dreaming of a white Christmas, but there really aren't many places that are going to at least see falling snow on this Christmas day. We will have some snow across parts of Utah, western parts of Colorado, and portions of Wyoming, especially during the morning hours. This will have the bulk of the snow around. But outside of that, so we're not really going to have much in the way of snow in the forecast. A lot of areas do have snow on the ground on this Christmas morning, but again, not much in the way of actual snow falling as we head throughout this Christmas day. We will have some sunshine returning to the northeast and also across the mid-Atlantic states, and even along the southeast coast. Really, most areas staying dry. There will be a couple of showers across central and south Florida. We'll see some showers and thunderstorms back toward Mississippi. You get into Louisiana as well. And then farther north, some steadier rain from northern parts of Arkansas, extreme western Tennessee around Memphis, extending northward into portions of Missouri up toward Cape Girardeau, maybe even up around St. Louis as well. We could have some rain around 4 portions of the day. And through much of the Ohio Valley, some rain and drizzle as we head through the day as well. But mainly dry across much of the Plain States. We do have that snow in the Four Corners region, parts of the Rockies, and then out west where there's a fairly active storm track setting up, especially across the northwest and northern parts of California. We will see some rain in western parts of Washington today, some snow in the Cascades, and then a couple of showers farther south at the northwestern parts of Oregon near Portland. Mainly dry across California today, maybe a little more sunshine as you get across Southern California, although it is going to stay on the cool side for this time of year. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Brian Thompson.
Remember to follow us everywhere you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. In one of his final acts of his presidency, Joe Biden spent his Christmas Eve signing 50 bills into law concerning a wide range of areas. John Stolnis has details from Washington.
One of the laws made it official that the bald eagle was now the official bird of the United States. Until now, the country had no official bird. The president also signed the Stop Institutional Child Abuse Act into law, a bill championed by socialite Paris Hilton to protect teens living in residential treatment facilities. It creates a federal work group that will oversee the care of minors placed in rehab and other facilities. Hilton testified at a congressional hearing back in June about the abuse she suffered while at a youth treatment facility in her teens, including physical, emotional, and sexual abuse.
These programs promised healing, growth, and support, but instead did not allow me to speak, move freely, or even look out a window for 2 years. I was force-fed medications and sexually abused by the staff. I was violently restrained and dragged down hallways, stripped naked, and thrown into solitary confinement.
Biden also signed S-932, which would prevent members of Congress from collecting their pensions if they're convicted of crimes. That law was one of the rare bipartisan areas of agreement in the last Congress and came in the wake of Democratic Senator Bob Menendez being found guilty of accepting bribes and using political influence to further the interests of foreign governments. Biden also signed the Stop Campus Hazing Act, setting up the first federal standards to address hazing on college campuses. The new law would require colleges and universities to report all incidents of hazing to campus or local police in their annual security reports, and would require schools to teach students about the dangers of hazing. The new laws come one day after Biden granted clemency to 37 of the 40 federal inmates on death row. They'll now serve life sentences without the possibility of parole. And the president vetoed a bill that would have created 66 new spots on the federal bench, arguing the Republican-controlled House rushed it through without properly resolving issues of how the judgeships would be implemented. John Stolnis, Washington.
The strike of Amazon and Starbucks workers is expanding to more locations. Correspondent Julie Walker reports.
Starbucks baristas heard here in Chicago a few days ago, and Amazon delivery drivers are on strike in a handful of U.S. cities as they seek to exert pressure on the two major companies to recognize them as unionized employees or to meet demands for an inaugural labor contract. Starbucks long resisted the unionization of its stores, but had agreed to negotiate a contract by the end of the year. Amazon refusing to acknowledge the organizing efforts of drivers and warehouse workers, many of whom have voted to unionize, even though the powerful Teamsters union says it represents them. I'm Julie Walker.
You know, if there's something you want for Christmas and you don't get it, you may just have to take it upon yourself. We've got that story and more when America in the Morning returns. Hang with us. One of the year's heaviest travel days started with a brief grounding of all American Airlines flights. Correspondent Shelley Adler reports.
It was a tough start for American Airlines on the day before Christmas. American Airlines briefly grounded flights nationwide Tuesday morning because of a technical problem just as the Christmas travel season kicked into overdrive. The ground stop lasted for about an hour, but residual delays continued. The airline said in an email that the problem was caused by trouble with vendor technology that maintains its flight operation system. Flights were delayed across American's major hubs, with only 37% leaving on time. That's according to an aviation analytics company. Overall, the flight tracking site FlightAware reported just over 3,700 flights were delayed Tuesday, with 55 flights canceled. I'm Shelley Adler.
A strike by San Francisco hotel workers appears to be coming to an end. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer has details.
The last group of striking hotel workers in San Francisco have reached a tentative agreement for a new contract with Hilton, bringing an end to a strike that has lasted 3 months. The vote by members of Unite Here Local comes after similar deals were made with Marriott and Hyatt in the past week. More than 10,000 hotel workers have gone on strike in 11 cities across the U.S. since September. The union says the deal includes preserving workers' union health insurance plans, wage increases, and new protections against understaffing and workload increases. The new contract would expire in 2028. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
According to Maryland officials, work to collect data to design a new Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore is scheduled to begin in January. The Baltimore Sun reports that work is scheduled to include topographic and underwater surveys as well as soil sampling. The bridge collapsed March 26th after a container ship lost power and crashed into one of its supporting columns, sending 6 members of a roadwork crew plunging to their deaths. A Coast Guard notice obtained by the Sun alerts mariners to construction activity starting January 7th through the state's estimated completion of the new bridge in October of 2028. The new bridge expected to cost about $2 billion. Legendary drug lord Fabio Ochoa has been deported to Colombia after spending more than 2 decades in a U.S. prison. Correspondent Donna Warder reports.
67-year-old Fabio Ochoa was deported back to Colombia after serving 25 years of a 30-year prison sentence in the United States. The legendary drug lord and key operator of the Medellin cartel was greeted by family in Bogota Monday afternoon after getting off a deportation flight. A reporter asked Ochoa if he was sorry for what he did. Ochoa answered no, because he didn't do it. He claimed he was framed. Ochoa and his brothers amassed a fortune when cocaine started flooding into the United States in the late 1970s and early 1980s. I'm Donna Warder.
California's coastal residents are facing dangerous conditions this holiday week. There are hazardous sea warnings along parts of the Pacific coast, specifically high surf warnings and coastal flood warnings. The National Weather Service in Portland warning of waves reaching up to 35 feet in some spots, which can pose significant risks to both property and other lives. The advisory listing the potential for large waves that can sweep across the beach without warning, pulling people into the sea from rocks, jetties, even beaches. The warnings come after a municipal wharf in Santa Cruz that was under renovation collapsed. 3 engineers inspecting the site were pulled into the water. All 3 were rescued. An Israeli woman who was taken hostage during the October 7th attack in Israel and freed in a brief ceasefire last year has died. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports.
The Hostages Families Forum, a group representing the families of people taken captive, confirmed Katsia's death, but did not disclose the cause. Her daughter, Karmit Polti Katsia, said in a statement that her mother's heart could not withstand the terrible suffering since October 7. Katsia's husband, Rami, was killed during the attack by militants who raided their home in Kibbutz Nir Oz. Her son Elad was also kidnapped, and his body was recovered in April by the Israeli military, who said he'd been killed in captivity. Hannah Katsia spent 49 days in captivity and was freed in late November 2023. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Sometimes you don't get what you want for Christmas, so you might have to get it for yourself. Correspondent Chuck Palm has some gift ideas you can buy for yourself in today's Tech Report.
Didn't get what you want for Christmas this year? You're not alone. The good news is many items go on sale after Christmas, so you can buy the gift that you didn't get for yourself. Some of this year's top tech choices are a smart home device like a Samsung Frame TV that hangs on your wall and reflects your decor. The Amazon Echo Show 8, a smart speaker with an 8-inch screen that does more than just set a cooking timer for you. Portable gaming consoles are back in vogue, and you can get one from Asus, Lenovo, or Nintendo, usually with next-day delivery. Time for a new phone? Samsung Galaxy, Google Pixel, and Motorola Razrs all have the new foldable phones with double the screen width for your viewing pleasure. Finally, how about a new smartwatch with a fitness tracker or an Oura Ring? Apple and Fitbit all have new versions for this year, and the Samsung Galaxy Ring includes a sizing kit, sleep tracker, and a fitness monitor. Merry Tech Christmas. I'm Chuck Palm.
Robert Workman has sports.
College football, one bowl game on Tuesday, Christmas Eve, the Hawaii Bowl in Honolulu. And it was a Lulu, going 5 overtimes before South Florida edged San Jose State 41-39. Anything to extend your island vacation. I get it. The Bulls watched a 14-point lead disappear in the second half, but John Cannon got them into OT by booting a field goal with 2 seconds left. Then the defense got a stop in the 5th round of the tiebreaker. Week 17 of the NFL begins with a Christmas Day doubleheader, both games featuring teams that could meet next month in the playoffs. First, the two-time defending Super Bowl champion Chiefs will be at the Steelers. Patrick Mahomes played through an ankle injury last week.
I think I'll be in a better place ankle-wise. I mean, obviously the body's going to be sore just with the short week and everything like that, but I think the ankle should be in a better place.
Pittsburgh coach Mike Tomlin says it'll be a challenge.
This is a three-phase outfit, and that's why they're 14-1. They've been in a lot of close ball games, but good teams find a way to win those games, and they've done so.
The late game has the Ravens visiting the Texans. Lamar Jackson says Baltimore healthy at just the right time.
Being injury-free at the end of the season, that's great for us entering. We just clinched the playoff this couple days ago. That's good. We just got to stay healthy, man, and keep doing what we're doing.
Houston coach DeMeco Ryans knows what his team must do in order to succeed.
Critical moments, situational football when it came to third down and red zone, we have to improve in those areas. When we've won games, we've been good in those areas, and when we've lost, we haven't been great in those areas. So that's the key for us.
Several playoff scenarios swirling around this weekend. The Chiefs can clinch the AFC's #1 seed, a first-round bye, and home field advantage with a win or a tie. The Broncos can secure a playoff berth with a win or a tie against the Bengals, and the Chargers can do the same in their game at New England. In the NFC, the Lions can clinch the North Division title, the #1 seed in the conference, the first-round bye, and home field advantage with a win over the 49ers and a Vikings loss. The Eagles can clinch the NFC East title with a win over the Cowboys. The Rams can wrap up the NFC West with a win over the Cardinals and a Seattle Seahawks loss or tie. And in primetime Sunday night, the Commanders can clinch a playoff berth with a win over the Falcons. No NHL games yesterday, today, or tomorrow. They'll be back on the ice on Friday. The NBA took Tuesday off, but comes back with a 5 spot today. It starts with the Spurs and the Knicks at noon Eastern, followed by the Timberwolves at the Mavericks. Then it's an Eastern Conference rivalry between the 76ers and the Celtics in Boston. Then we head cross-country for the Lakers and the Warriors in San Francisco. And the day wraps up in the desert with the Nuggets at the Suns. Some of the marquee names in those games, though, could be sidelined. Devin Booker will not play for Phoenix because of a groin strain, and Denver's Jamal Murray is questionable for that game with an ankle injury. Anthony Davis and LeBron James are both questionable for LA. AD has a shoulder issue, while LBJ may sit out with what's termed injury management. Boston's Jason Tatum has an illness, and a heel injury makes Luka Doncic a question mark for Dallas. College hoops has a 4-bagger today in Honolulu, the Diamond Head Classic. Some decent teams trying to crack the top 25, starting with a breakfast battle between Loyola Chicago and Murray State. That's followed by Charleston and Charlotte, two schools that are about 200 miles apart, who flew about 4,500 miles in order to play each other. In the afternoon session, Oakland takes on host Hawaii, and then it's the title game between Oregon State and Nebraska. That's Wednesday Sports.
And a famed record producer passes away. We'll tell you which one and pay tribute when America in the Morning returns after this. Famed record producer Richard Perry has died at the age of 82. Correspondent Ben Thomas has a look at his life and his legacy.
His name, his face, his voice you may not recognize, but the songs he produced you sure will. Richard Perry was a drummer, an oboist, a doo-wop singer, but most of all, a hit maker. At home with a wide variety of musical styles, the rare producer to have #1 hits on the pop, R&B, dance, and country charts. I'm so excited. He became known as a musician's producer, treating artists like peers rather than vehicles for his own tastes. You're so vain. And for Carly Simon's chart-topping You're So Vain, he'd call that the nearest he came to a perfect record. Richard Perry died Tuesday at a Los Angeles hospital after a cardiac arrest. He was 82. I'm Ben Thomas.
Visitors to Volcanoes National Park on Hawaii's Big Island were rewarded yesterday as Kilauea volcano continued to erupt for the second day, spewing lava up to 300 feet in tall fountains that then spread over a 650-acre area. The eruption occurred in a spot that's been closed to the public since 2007 because of hazards like crater wall instability and rock falls. Scientists expect activity to fluctuate in the coming days, but they don't think there's any threat to homes around the park. Correspondent Kevin Carr has a guide on what you can watch and where you can watch it this Christmas.
You've made it to Christmas morning, so what can you watch while cooking, relaxing, or assembling the kids' presents?
How can I help you?
Well, do you have a Santa outfit left?
2 days before Christmas?
Be sure to look for your favorite Christmas episodes from TV, including Friends on Max, Brooklyn Nine-Nine on Netflix and Peacock, and The Simpsons on Disney+.
Jingle bells, Batman smells, Robin lays an egg. The Batmobile broke its wheel, the Joker got a...
Not only is the 1965 classic A Charlie Brown Christmas available on Apple TV+,
Merry Christmas, Charlie Brown!
but so are all the other Peanuts holiday specials, including the lesser-known Christmas sequel.
Rudolph, with your nose so bright, won't you guide my sleigh tonight?
For another blast from the past, on VOD, rent the classic Rankin Bass holiday specials like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Frosty the Snowman, and The Year Without a Santa Claus.
I'm too much.
But buyer beware if you're shopping for It's a Wonderful Life. Due to rights issues, some ad-supported streaming services have replaced the musical score or outright edited the ending of the film. Don't skimp on George Bailey this holiday. Watch the full version on Prime Video.
Merry Christmas, you wonderful old belly alone!
Merry Christmas. I'm Kevin Carr.
America in the Morning for Wednesday, December 25th, 2024 is produced by Alex Hinton, senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm Clayton Neville in for John Trout. Merry Christmas. This is Westwood One.